What's up, fam? Today we're going to talk about performance, practice, performance and practice. Those of us trying to get results are really after one thing, performance. We want the other side to perform. The problem is 3 years maybe of throwing spaghetti at the wall with bills of exchange, coupons back to the corporation, and Chris Hauser tactics, Patrick Devine files. Seen it all. Our group has done it all. We've started to get success, finally, and that success has come in a few ways. The 1099A, 1099C, it was not easy. And then also with the Treasury, by starting to use this stamp right here. Now, it doesn't have to be this exact format. What I'm showing you here today does not have to be in this exact method, just sharing some experience, not financial advice, entertainment purposes only. You know how that works. And we're going to do some in real time here, and I'm going to go step by step with what I've come to understand by amalgamating all of this info and coming from someone who's first talked about the straw man and the birth certificate back in 2012 when I tried to launch a podcast that was short-lived, lasted about a year, launched it at the same time as my website, Decrypted Matrix. One of the first shows that I did in 2012 was talking about the straw man and the birth certificate and how to cancel your Social Security number. Since then, I've learned that I was somewhat over the target at the time, but to get results, what did it come down to? Patrick Devine in my head saying, "Did you read the instructions?" But let's get into it, right? We've all made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, but I've also started to see remedy, and I would love to see more in my group see the remedy, and more in this particular group see the remedy as well. So first thing you need is your pens, right? We've all heard the different colors. Red, I've understood this to be the blood of man. This is the private. This is where you're signing your substance. Purple is royalty, like on docs and affidavits and stuff like that. I'll usually use purple for the royalty. When you're inking a money order or doing contractual commerce related, this pen that I hold in my hand is royal blue. And then the black, good old-fashioned black when it doesn't really matter. Sometimes I still will use black. Today, red. The pen in my hand is red. And so the stamp is also red. Most of the videos I've come across, some have said it doesn't really matter. You could potentially use other colors. One that seemed to come from the mouth of an I.R.S. agent, red is the important one for when you're inking up stuff using this stamp or sending things to go to the Treasury. So about performance, since I've tried everything in my experience, the only ones that perform are the Treasury. Brandon Joe Williams has said this, and others I know have mentioned this. I think these organizations are just getting hammered too much by this stuff that they either can't keep up or have forgotten how to do it, and so the drones just respond with, "Oh, you're sending us fraudulent mail." Don't bother sending to the organizations anymore unless you're willing to litigate like Brandon Joe Williams. Don't bother. Endorse these using payable to bearer stamp and send them to the Treasury. Send it to the right address and you follow the instructions per how endorsements need to be made by U.C.C. guidelines. Brandon Joe has videos that go well into this. I don't need to do it. And then reading the instructions with regards to I.R.S. forms. And why not sign everything without recourse to help protect yourself from any subsequent liability. So there are some patterns that I've applied to maintain. And the first comes with red and then the stamp. Do you need the stamp? No, you don't need the stamp. You need to make sure that you follow the format of the stamp, right? The reason is you can't say this is a Sprint bill and I owe Sprint, or the principal, the straw man owes Sprint. The one endorsing and inking cannot be the maker or drawer. Sprint and the principal here, the straw man, are both maker and drawer. So you've got to come in and be a representative of either the maker or the drawer, or somebody totally different. Family member can come in and endorse your bills. The Treasury does not care who applies the substance in the form of the sign of nature, right? That's what signature comes from, sign of nature. And so corporations can't apply substance. Only the human being can apply the substance. So let's apply some substance right now, right? We take our Sprint bill, we've got the stamp, we've got our red pen, and we've got postage stamps, right? We've seen and heard, you may have not heard about the tactic of the postage stamp. At least one side, you can do it on both, but at least one side gets the postage stamp. And the reason for this, Patrick Devine goes into this and many others go into this, is to elevate the authority of the document. We've all heard that you can't go in someone's mailbox, right? You can't interfere with mail. It's a federal crime. It is. It is because mail is protected, and the moment that you put a postage stamp on it and then cancel it out, showing that it's been used, you've just elevated the authority of this document, and you've made yourself the postmaster of this particular piece of mail. So now it's even the judge is at lower authority level than the UPU, the postal union, now has authority because of commerce and how commerce is connected back to the old days before we had electricity and instant communications. That kind of thing. Just a simple stamp on an instrument has immediately elevated the authority so that the individuals receiving, the persons receiving the instrument better not tamper with that mail, because it would now be a federal crime to interfere with that mail reaching its destination for performance, right? So we've got our red pen, we've got our stamp, and then we've got our stamps. So the ink stamp, mail stamp. Don't get confused. This is where people can often get confused. What stamp are we talking about? I like to do the postage stamp first. We'll just put that on the front. On court documents, you're going to want to put that postage stamp on both sides. Make it the last thing, bottom right corner of the back of the document. And we'll do a quick John Henry across at an angle like that. That's the bare minimum. There's other things where you can put your social on there and the date, and I think the bare minimum is to show that it's been written through, canceled out, it's been used. So now this document is also formally a piece of money because it has monetary value attached to it, and you've canceled out the stamp. All right, so the next thing is the endorsement. Now, I've seen back and forth of whether this goes on the front or the back. I don't think it matters, at least one side of the document. Again, on court documents, like the stamp, we'll do one of those next, that would go on both sides, just in case. So here's your stamp at an angle. That's the fun part. Now, we've got our stamped instrument, bill of exchange, and we're going to sign as the agent for the principal per Brandon Joe U.C.C. guidelines in his big flowchart document. It does confirm, put up the code here of the reminder that you can't be the maker or the drawer. The endorser cannot be the maker or the drawer, so this format of the stamp solves that problem. That's it. I think that's the bare minimum. Show that you've accepted it, payable to bearer. That's the most universal. That way the document is money. It doesn't specify who it has to route to. That's where a lot of people mess up. If you do it to United States Treasury rather than U.S. Treasury, they may or may not take it, I've heard. Payable to bearer, it's the most universal for all involved. If you're going to try to send it to organizations or just go for the Treasury. You can do both. They double dip. There's actually no reason you can't send a copy to the Treasury and send a copy back to Sprint, for example, to see who performs best. Collection attempts and medical collections, apparently, they have a much easier time going to the discount window than the bank, who offers lower margins. And like you send it back to Citibank, they're probably not going to process it. You send a Citibank statement to the Treasury, much more likely that you're going to get that processed. So we've got it stamped, we've got it ink stamped, we've put our correct sign of nature and authorization on here as an agent for the principal. Now we have the option of sending this with or without a cover letter. But here are the two addresses, the only two addresses that know how to handle these instruments. There's one. Here's the other. I print off these labels because I do these for friends and myself, so made it a lot easier. All right, let's do something a little more serious. Say we got ourselves a court order here, like me. So we are going to do the same thing that I did in my case. And this is a judgment in the sum of $10,900.47. They gave me the solution right here. So funny. They literally gave me the $10,000, and they did it to you too. You just didn't realize it. So this could be an order for judgment of some kind. This could be a child support order. It could be literally any order to pay, any promise to pay. In this case, it's an order to pay from a judge. And don't forget, courts are financial institutions, so they'll know what to do with the financial instrument. And if they don't, they're violating SEC. So if you do all of this officially, i.e. follow the instructions to put them on the hook, courts perform if you do it right, and then the Treasury performs. And why not do both? They double dip, so can you. So the endorsed judgment, I sent one off to the Treasury, and then I sent one right back to the judge. Still waiting to get payout from the Treasury. I will claim that on this upcoming year's taxes. So you can send these endorsed instruments to the Treasury as a deposit and request the balance to be returned to you of whatever they deem the credits due to you are. And in other cases, you can send it as a discharge set-off saying, take the credits and pay the man, right? Pay the court, pay it off. And so I've tried everything to see what works. And so we're starting to see now what works, what doesn't. And today I'm showing you here what works in my experience. So we take our court order here. And in my case, it's family law, and so I've done this to the child support order. The mother actually owed me, but that's fine. I went ahead and endorsed that and sent it in for deposit. And in this case, my psycho parents are trying to get custody of her, and so my non-compliance has led to a judgment of 10 grand for attorney fees and travel fees. And so bring it on, baby. Accepted. Paid in full. So you want to be the last signature on the page with something like this. And with the judge, make it front and center for the first one. And then the second one, you try to make it, again, to be the last signature on the page, I got to go to the back here and put it right next to his digital signature. And so that's where we will put our John Henry Doe, right? Doe. Henry for John Henry Doe. Principal. Done. Right? And then we'll do our, with court, show the judge you're a baller. Use a $1 stamp. Does the value of the stamp matter? No, it does not. It just needs to be at least 2 cents. I think that's the smallest. I've never seen a 1 cent stamp. Maybe it exists. I don't know. The fact that it's any value at all is the importance. But if you want to be a big baller, go ahead and put on a $1 stamp on there and show the judge that you know who you are. Bam. John Henry that. And then maybe throw the date on it. It's my overstanding that these instruments should have a date on them somewhere of when they've been endorsed, and so I'll like to throw that on here. What is today? January 19th, 1/19/25. There we go. It's that simple. So this one would go back right to the judge who ordered it, right? Registered mail. Probably could get away with certified mail. This is all in the public, so certified mail back to the judge could easily work as well, I believe. I usually will do mine registered just to have that little extra flex on it, but this one went registered. I think the version that went to the Treasury was certified, if I remember correctly. So we've experimented with both. I don't think it actually matters, but you do what you feel is best. So once that's inked, ideally send it with a notarial certificate of service. have a notary involved that mails it for you, and that again, then you're taking the straw man out of the equation with regard to the communication chain, and so it's the most buttoned up administrative process that you can. Could it still work, and will it probably still work without that notarial attestation? Yeah, probably. But if you want to go all the way and Deadpool maximum effort, you want that notarial attestation in there. A cover letter saying, I accept your presentments. Your presentments have been accepted for value and are returned for value. Please discharge associated balances on this account. Case number. The case number is an account, and tell them that you know it's an account, and you've applied performance, and for them to not settle based on you doing all of this right, they'd be violating SEC, and you could easily appeal that and win on appeal if you've got proof that they received it. You've got your green card receipt back. That's the other thing, certified mail or registered mail with your green card. And sit back and wait for your results. So either to the Treasury or to a judge. That is pretty much how it works. Again, here is the stamp. You can write this out, folks. You do not have to use a stamp. I just do a lot of these, and people who get involved with this end up doing a lot of these, and when they take charge, and it just gets monotonous to write this over and over and over. So the stamp also helps that you don't mess up the format, and you make sure when you're endorsing that you are neither the maker nor the drawer. You're just the agent signing on behalf of the principal. That's it. Any questions, let me know.